Maybe. Okay. Okay. What? It'll take a second, but just keep talking. There it goes.
Looks like you probably got sound now.
Yep. Looks like we're working now. Okay. So we're back. Hey, everybody. We sorry about that. We were working through some technical difficulties. Mr. Paul back there behind glass, working hard to get us on. We're good. You hear? Okay. So we're on now, and we had already gone through. I know you couldn't hear us, but we'd already gone through the show opening, and so we're not going to go back through it. Y'all know how we do. We're rolling on the field. As Justin likes to say, we're the best local sports show in the history of Silsbee, Texas local sports shows. So we're just going to go ahead and say welcome. And we're going to get right back into it. Before we were having a reboot and cut off. We were talking about the show rules. If you're going to get in the chat and talk to us about stuff that we are topics that we're discussing tonight, make sure that you do not talk negatively about local athletes or amateur athletes and local coaches. We don't take kindly to that. Now, if they're making millions of dollars to do what they do, feel free. Just bash them all you want. If you don't like LeBron James, I mean, by all means, just tell us how you really feel about LeBron James in his 23-year career here that he just started. But we'll talk more about that later. One thing that we want to get into first, right off the bat, is the fact that today, November the 19th, is our very own Justin Marble's birthday. And, I'm not going to say he's special to us, but he's here. And, let's celebrate his birthday. Look, you see these 4 pictures up here. There's one of him behind the mic, of course, looking weird. He's got that one on the right. I shouldn't say directions, but the next one where you got the T-shirt on that says, what does that T-shirt say? You know who Sylvia is now, or what does it say?
Now you know.
Now you know. Yeah. So that was in response to somebody saying Silsbee who on a playoff game. And, of course, you see him with the little fish because he's not a very good fisherman. And with the shirt from way back in 21 with the underwear, with the starched underwear, that was a big joke in 21. If you've been with us for a long time, you know the joke that he one time said that, well, Josh, you're so proper that you probably starch your underwear. And of course I just went with it because that's what we do. And I say, of course I do. And so he had a whole T-shirt made about it. Starched and ready.
That it being his birthday don't have nothing to do with him having to work tonight, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, he says he's having to work. I don't, he uses that term is a very loose term with him. And he'll tell you all about work. He'll tell you about the particulars and the technical details about work. We don't care. Who cares? We don't care if your relief showed up late or you had something wrong with your unit. Who cares? I don't talk to you about my work like that. But that's Justin for you. He needs to feel like he wants to talk to you about his unit all the time. Thank you, Paul. He did. Yeah, 100%. He wants to tell you about his unit. But you know what? He does do a good job here on the show for us. And out in the community, of course, y'all know a lot of you remember him from Frenchie's Coffee House. Him and his wife Adrian owned that, and I ran it for several years. And they had a very large clientele that were very loyal, and unfortunately, they had to shut that down. But that's where our studio started. That's where our show started and everything. So we're always grateful to Justin for allowing that, and for John helping out there. And the whole thing was that we're going to talk about sports anyway. Why don't we just do it on like a little live or a podcast platform. That would be fun. That's something fun to do. Everybody needs a hobby. So, why not? And we like to talk about Silsbee sports. We like to talk about national. We like to talk about local other than Silsbee. We talk about a little bit of everything. So Justin's good at that. We put on our post, he bleeds maroon. He's a Silsbee guy. He won't be there at the game tomorrow night, but I know he'll be watching. He'll find some way to watch. He'll pirate it or bootleg it or something. He's resourceful like that. Or he'll just pay for National High School Sports Network like the rest of us do. But he'll figure out a way to watch it. Y'all look for his article in the Bee regarding Sweeney and a look ahead to La Vega that we'll talk about here shortly. And Jacob, you can feel free to chime in on anything that I'm talking about while we're going. I will, but in our little opening segment, we got four little topics here before we get into local. I went to LSU Arkansas game last weekend, and it was 11:45 kick. I haven't been to a early kick in a long time, but LSU won, and we've been very interested in the coaching search and quarterback situation there, and our normal quarterback was hurt in this game. So a gentleman named Michael Van Buren started. And there's a connection there because we're big Seinfeld heads. I don't know if you probably noticed or you probably have noticed in the past shows that we are big Seinfeld heads, and we're kind of nerded out about that. And so we are now members of the Van Buren boys.
I didn't actually see the game, but I seen a video yesterday that was talking about how well he did as a quarterback.
He did very well for his first official start, I think. Now, he comes from Mississippi State. He's a transfer in, so he's played a little bit. He did very well, especially in the fourth quarter. We sat in the south end zone, and we got to watch the kick that would have put Arkansas up, sail right, and that was a very exciting moment because we had a severely inebriated Woo Pig Suey fan behind us, and it was all I could do. And if you happen to run into Justin, ask him about LSU Alabama in 2018. A game we lost, a game LSU lost, and I wasn't so nice to an Alabama fan, and I probably when God sees me at the gates and he's going through the things that I've done terrible in my life, that's going to be one of them. and not that we got physical or anything, but I said some things that and used some words, and I'm not proud of it, but I did not to this Arkansas fan. I held my composure, and a credit to him is that when it was over and we all turned around and kind of looked at him, he took it like a man. It was just like, all right, boys, y'all got me. And, we all kind of shrugged it off, said, good game. Hey, man, you win some, you lose some. We go on. But we are Van Buren boys, and that's the sign, Van Buren. If you don't know, that's a number 8. Martin Van Buren was the 8th president of the United States, and that's where there's a Seinfeld episode where Kramer runs into these guys, and they're a group of young thugs, and they're called the Van Buren Boys, named after Martin Van Buren, the 8th president of the United States. And so that's why their gang sign is the 8. right? So Kramer accidentally, so they're getting ready to kind of go at Kramer, kind of rough him up, and he accidentally holds up this sign, and they back off because they think he's a member. So, so we've been initiated into the Michael Van Buren. We're the Van Buren boys for sure. Going forward, I think he's going to be your quarterback, and just because our starter Nussmeier is injured, I don't think he's going to play this game. It's kind of a rough fizzle out of his college career because he's a senior, and that's got to be rough on him. But they've only got 2 games left. They got this one. They've got Oklahoma. He might get to play during the Oklahoma game, but it's kind of a letdown toward the end of his college career. And then you've got this young guy coming in, and he looked good in the last game. And so LSU's in some turmoil right now. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later too. But he's future looks promising. I would say get the right coach. That's still up in the air too. So, but we'll move on and we'll talk about.
Any talks on who they're looking at for that?
Well, yeah, and we've got that later in the topic, but yeah, of course, the big names, Lane Kiffin is out there, and we'll talk about what he may be, the leverage he may be using, and using some other schools to maybe gain a better contract where he is. And Lane is a different kind of. He's not old school. He's very in tune with social media and how he's perceived, via that. So it's a different situation. And we're like I said, we're gonna bring that up a little later. But yeah, he's in there. A lot of other coaches. Some are starting to fall off the list, but we'll talk about it. Sylvie Tigers travel to Jacksonville, Texas, to play in the Tomato Bowl against Waco La Vega, a team who they're familiar with.
Also a stadium that's built into a hill like their own.
Exactly, and I want to, and there's some game details for you. I want to read you a little bit about the Tomato Bowl put out by Southeast Texas Sports, our friends over there, or SETX Sports. They put out a little information for you about the Tomato Bowl, and I'm going to read it to you. It's interesting. Let me find it here.
While he's looking for that, if you want a good parking spot, you might want to show up early. I've heard they only have about 70 parking spots for that stadium.
Yeah. And this is a little write-up that SETX Sports put out, and I thought it was pretty neat. We shared it to our page. I've seen it shared other places too. It's pretty neat. So Friday night, not only did Sylvie Tigers take on a familiar foe, but some of their surroundings might look vaguely familiar as well. Similar to Sylvie Stadium, Jacksonville's historic Tomato Bowl, home stands are built into the side of a hill. However, the 85-year-old stadium has years more history. The Texas Football Stadium Hall of Fame Stadium, completed in 1940, was built for $20,000. That is $467,000 in 2025 via federal grants. This project was one of many done with federal WPA, a program which kept Americans at work during the Great Depression. That's along the lines of your New Deal type stuff, the Tennessee Valley Authority, anything that was put in place during the Great Depression to give people jobs. Famously, there was a lot of organizations built just to do that. This is kind of one of those things. The Tomato Bowl is not only unique in its age and design, but how it was built. Manpower with shovels did some of the work. I lost my place because somebody texted me. I'm sorry. Manpower Shovels did some of the work. That's now done with diesel equipment. The face of the entrance is red. What does that say? Red iron ore brought from local. I just lost it. I'm sorry, guys. We're having all kind of problems tonight, but I promise we're going to get through this together. Red iron ore brought from local farmers and cemented into the face of the stadium. If you see, if you look on SCTX Sports, you'll see their photos, and you'll see what they're talking about the face of that facade on the front of that stadium.
It's a very nice look.
It is. It's very cool looking, and like it says, it's built into the side of a hill, much like Silsbee. About 10 years ago, the community rallied together to secure funds to keep the historic stadium alive. Prior to this season, the Tomato Bowl was recognized as the best high school football stadium in Texas by Dave Campbell's. If you're going to the game, a Tiger fan, get there a few minutes early and read some of the historic placards and appreciate this unique historical stadium. I think it's neat, too. And looking at some of the pictures, you definitely understand the comparison to Tiger Stadium in Silsbee as far as being built into the side of a hill. Also, I mean, it's very similar in the fact that they're the visitor stands are just freestanding also, like Silsbee's. But it's very cool looking. I'm excited to see, and I'm excited to know that it's a historical stadium. That's cool to me.
I hear that around the stadium they have placards where you can read about the history of the place.
Yeah, and you know, that's what they said about in the little blurb there, is that, you know, hey, take some time to look at those. That's cool, for sure. There's a lot of and Paul, I'm going to skip through these. There's a lot of rules and stuff, and we'll start right there. And I'm not going to go through all the pictures, Paul, because I'm going to direct everyone to Silsbee ISD's page, and they've got a whole newsletter for the playoffs. You can read all of this information there. There's no need for us to go through it because they do a really good job of making sure that you're informed on everything. Y'all hit up Silsbee ISD and look for that playoff newsletter that they have out right now. That kind of tells you everything and all the rules of the stadium that we're going to currently. Like Jacob said, parking is going to be an issue. They have a map also right there at Silsbee ISD that shows you kind of everywhere everything will be parked and the parking situation. So y'all be sure to check that out because it's going to be important getting to the game, especially if you plan on leaving the day of and not getting there early. You're going to need to know where to go and where to be. So y'all check that out also. I think that's all I have on the Tomato Bowl. I do want to talk a little bit more about Justin, but I need to take a little break real quick. Jacob, could you fill in and start talking about Sweeney and what that game looked like?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so the Sweeney game, when it started out with the kickoff. We kicked to them. They did return it all the way back for a touchdown to start the game. However, there was a yellow flag. The play got called back. Touchdown was no good. I really think that struck something in our team. They took control from that point, and they maintained control the entire game. They started strong early, and they never gave up. I'll pull it up. We had some players of the game for that game. Give me just a second here.
I'm very sorry about that.
Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the players of the game from the Sweeney game.
We pulled the players of the game out, pulled my notes up. I can tell you a little bit about what I thought, and I did see that you started talking about the opening kickoff and the fact that, they took it back. That was called back. They were called for a blindside block, and they started kind of back at their 40. What I noticed throughout the game was that Sweeney was getting yardage, and doing what they had to do for in the gash play area. They worked big plays to hold the Tigers off.
The players of the game for that game were number 8, Hagan Morris. Number 11, Levin Powell. Number 0, Tazavian Hafford. 99, Kyle Walker. And number 30, Jacob Love. One thing I would like to point out, he wasn't one of the players of the game from what they listed, but Julian Brown.
Julian Brown, have a day, why don't you, kid? The second game really this year that he's really just shown out, and I who knows why he wasn't listed as player of the game, but I think he had 2 picks. He had a bunch of pass defenses. Yeah, absolutely, he was one of the stars of the game, but and that's the second or third game that I saw him this year where he just showed out, man. He just had a day.
And I believe one of his picks was a pick 6, but it got called back.
It did get called back. Yep. Tigers ran the ball really well early. They got up on Sweeney 14-0. And they hit a couple big gainers or a few big gainers on the Tigers. For the most part, the Tigers kind of held them up. The Tigers are very much a bend not break style defense, and when they can get penetration, they're back there. They're it's tough to run on them. Jacob Johnson, Corday Wilson, Carter Howard. Like to mention a newcomer, London Tyler, who ran well at the end of the game and ran a couple long plays that got called back.
Yeah,
he's probably winded after those, but you can see the future's bright. I think that kid's a freshman. He's the future's bright. There for the Tigers. In London Tyler. So, Silsby was always ahead in this game. Sweeney had a couple turnovers. They got in the end zone a couple times. It was one of them games that felt like, okay, just don't let them hang around. Don't let them stay with you. And Silby never really did. Silby always had an answer.
You look at what the score was, and then you look at the fact that they had a hard battle with the referees in that game.
They really did.
And they really did. There was three touchdowns called back.
There was a concerted effort, I feel like, by one particular official in that game to make sure that he called every hold that he saw. And you know the old adage in football, there's holding on every play. Well, I believe he tried to call every hold on every play. I believe that he really did. And hey, you know, that happens sometimes. You're going to get one that, you know, is kind of nitpicky and wants to pick on you a little bit. But hey, the important thing is that the Tigers come out with the victory. We move on to play Waco La Vega, who is a tough team, as we know. And if you want to read more about or see more about, I tend to try to not read verbatim the articles that we write for the Bee because, you know, we just want to talk in general about the game. But if you want to read a in-depth analysis, check out Justin's article in the Sylvie Bee. And I say Justin's article, and he'll be mad about this on his birthday. But I always take the notes for the article. It'll last 3 or 4 weeks anyway, and I send them to him. So he's working the story off my notes. So I'm a little bit involved, even though he may get credit for it.
Right.
And he may get mad about that on his birthday, but y'all check that out if you want an in-depth kind of synopsis of the game. So, La Vega, let's talk about their record and, you know, what we're looking at. We know that traditionally they're a tough team. We do have one common opponent, which is West Orange Stark. And they beat West Orange Stark 44-20. Now, that is not – I don't think that's damning for the Sylvie Tigers. I think that and I didn't watch the game, but, you know, they do have some losses. All of them are non-district, and they went 5-0 in their district, but I can't speak to how difficult their district is.
One thing I can point on is Silsbee's defense is a hard defense to run against.
It absolutely is.
And La Vega, Leslie K and I watched their game on Friday night, and they don't throw the ball. They only run.
That's what I seen in box scores, looking on Max Preps, and y'all can look too if you have a Max Preps account or if you just want to look at box score somewhere else. But what you will notice is that they are not quick to pass, and there's only so much you can do. If you can key off and you can put people down in the box and key off on a run, there's only so much a team is going to be able to do, especially with as tough a defensive line and linebacker core as Sylvie Tigers have. So we do think that is an advantage there for the Tigers. Now, that's not to say you couldn't bring pull a safety down in the box and they couldn't play action on you and get a big gapper and score a touchdown. That, you know, but Sylvie can score too. So it kind of levels the playing field when you have a good run defense, and that's what they do best. Now, you're going to have to execute. They're going to have to execute, and the defense is going to have to execute, but that's what's going to make it a good game, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And we will see. I am not comfortable right now giving a score prediction because I have not done my homework, but Jacob, you can feel free if you'd like.
I don't want to give a score prediction.
You don't want to give one either? Okay. I say that because I haven't really, you know, you can look at their, like I said, their schedule in their district. They were 5-0 in their district.
From what I've seen, their scores are usually pretty high.
Yeah,
but so are ours.
That's right.
I think at the end it's going to be a very close game.
Yes, it looks like to me in their district run they really only blew out one team. Now they beat LaGrange 42-0.
That was one of those things, though. LaGrange also did not throw the ball; they only ran. And with the defense that La Vega has, LaGrange just didn't have it for them.
That's right. So we look forward to it. We look forward to seeing you down there. Y'all tune into, of course, our friends broadcast at SETX Sports. They are the best. And you know, as far as listening to a game, you won't be disappointed, especially these playoff games. They do their homework and they're on the ball. And they know what they're talking about. Y'all tune into them on Friday night. Hey, bring your headphones, bring your earbuds, and watch the game live and you know, listen to them in your ear. I always used to love to do that at Lamar games, and college football games in general, because you listen to your favorite broadcast and be watching the game. It's a different kind of.
As you saw on Friday night, that's what I do. I sit there at the game, listen to it on my phone.
Yeah, and they're really good, and we love those guys. Y'all tune into them. They also put out very good content all the time, every day. Y'all check them out.
And if we get past La Vega this week, I'll definitely have to try to tune in next week because I won't be here for the game.
Oh yeah, that sucks. Yeah. But, you know, from what I understand, the boys are very confident. Coaching staff is confident. So let's get behind them. And let's be there. Let's show up. Let's show out. We always do. At the Tomato Bowl, I'm looking forward to the Tomato Bowl. I don't know. When I saw that it was called the Tomato Bowl, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
This is cool. This is neat. What is this? You know, and, of course, I looked it up. And then SETX Sports put out their little – thing about it, and I was like, okay, it's historic. That's cool. That's neat. Which Jacksonville, I think, in general, is a historic Texas city. A lot of people like to see the sights there and things like that. So,
I have family in Jacksonville.
do you? Yeah, a lot of historic sites there and stuff.
One thing I can say though is one thing about Silsbee. They always come to the game pumped, but the more pumped that the crowds and the fans get, the more pumped the team gets.
They do feed off of crowd energy. So,
and when we played La Vega last year, it was cold.
It was dead.
And the crowd was dead. And I just think we need to be behind them. And
yeah, y'all get up there in the stands. Y'all get behind them. Y'all get behind these boys. They like it, and they like to see their people in the stands and us travel well. It means a lot to them.
As y'all seen last week in the Sweeney game, we had the stands packed, and there wasn't hardly a handful of people in the Sweeney.
Exactly. We travel well. We do good. Y'all get behind these boys. Let's help them in whatever little way we can get a win. So we'll move. Before we get into anything else, we'll mention some girls basketball. Girls basketball started on the 8th. Sylvie girls basketball. They've had a few games we're going to mention. Started out with Friendswood with a loss 49-21. Then they were at Orangefield and took a L 51-46. And then lost to Episcopal 42-36. Beat Klein 36-30. Lost to Westside 56-42. And the next tilt is going to be with Madisonville. Looks like it's a home matchup. Noon on 11/24. So y'all support your Lady Tigers. Sorry we don't have any stats for that. We've reached out. We didn't get anything back. We 100% will give stats if they're given to us. So pass that along. We like to report on everything and everybody Silsbee athletics. And we do want you to know that we do our due diligence reaching out to gain those stats. So And of course, anybody out in the world that has anything that they would like to talk about Selby Athletics or like us to hit on, feel free to message us. Feel free to reach out if you know us personally. We'll get it on here for sure. We talked about La Vega. We talked about what we thought about the contest. To close it out, like Jacob said, I do agree that we need to be 100% behind these boys. I know that they're confident. The coaching staff is confident. We can go up there to Jacksonville and get this one and move on. I don't think anybody thinks that there's not a chance of that. There's definitely we've got a good shot to go up there and get this one. Revenge game, 100%. We'll move on to some national topics. College football rankings come out every Tuesday. This Tuesday was no exception, but there were some different things that happened that we would like to discuss. I'm going to pull my top 25 up here. Namely, the fact that the Miami Notre Dame thing bothers me a little bit because Miami and Notre Dame beat each other head to head, or Miami beat Notre Dame head to head. And Paul, I think that's picture 9. Yeah, so you see this and it reads college football playoff chair Hunter Yurachek says Notre Dame and Miami have not been compared to each other because they are not close enough to each other in the rankings. Mentions Miami has 2 losses to unranked teams, and Notre Dame has 2 losses to the teams committees to the teams in committee's top 13. And then you see the score of the Miami Notre Dame game, and a person who comments they literally played on the football field. So so how can you put a team ahead of another team that has beaten them? It just, to me, we're almost getting back to the BCS type stuff where it really doesn't make any sense. There's a reason that we put the college football playoff in play, and it was to get away from the BCS and get away from people's opinions about things and see the real, what is real and what is fair. And you've got 12 teams that can get in now, and you have a team that beat another team or that lost to another team ahead of that team. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And Notre Dame gets love, and I seen a meme or a tweet yesterday that I agree with 100%, and it said that if Notre Dame wants to continue to be considered in college football playoff, they need to join a conference, and I believe that wholeheartedly. I do not know why Notre Dame has always thought they were special. They have joined a conference in every other athletic program but football. But because of their legacy and because of their history, they believe that they can still strong-arm their way into things. And things like this is letting them do that. Things like people considering them when they've gotten beat by a team that is ranked lower than them is continuing that whole narrative. And it just doesn't make any sense. I think they should be forced to join a conference. I think independents should be forced to join a conference. It's not the 1930s anymore. There's not 50% independent teams and 50% conference teams. That's not how it is. It's
You mean Rudy's not playing for Notre Dame anymore?
Rudy was offsides. No, I take. I love that movie. It's bullshit, but I love it. And Joe Montana and not Mike Golick, but his older brother who played on that team will tell you that it's a bunch of BS. So the whole movie's BS, but it makes for a good movie.
Right.
But yeah, should Notre Dame keep getting these? It's Notre Dame. It's Notre Dame. Well, sometimes it's not Notre Dame. They shouldn't get the benefit of the doubt for their logo, and their heritage and legacy. That's not what college football is anymore. And we're not in the BCS. We're not in the AP poll era. We're not in the way back in the day. There was there's so many polls. We always tell you about the 2007 college football season, how much of a mess it was, and that was in the BCS era. And you had so many different polls that factored into this BCS formula, and they were all so different in the top 10. They were all so different in the top 10. So there really wasn't a consensus, and that's what you want is a consensus. Number one, number two, if you're going to have number one and number two play for a national title. And that was never the case in the BCS era. I'm not going to say never. I'm going to say rarely, because sometimes it was.
Right.
LSU got in 2007 with 2 losses, backed their way in, lost their final game of the season to Arkansas, won the SEC title, sure, but and hey, I don't care because I proudly fly that banner on my patio, that 07 national title. And there's some guys in Baton Rouge that do a morning radio show named Matt Flynn and Jacob Hester, and they were a part of that team. And, they would make sure to tell you that we were national champions. We were the best team in college football, and I believe that they were. But you got to do it on the field. Yep. And they didn't that year, but they still managed to get in. Now, there's books written on how they managed to get in. There's whole books, 3 or 4 different authors, about the 2007 college football season. I advise y'all to go look at that. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. But it was also the most exciting thing. But anyway, I said all that to say that, is the college football playoff a better system? Yes. Is it still flawed? Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Because you still have human beings putting their opinions and their views that may be skewed or maybe they're not even paying attention to these teams and watching games. And they're still getting to choose this top 12 that is going to go into this playoff that is going to determine a national title in college football. And as long as a human element is in it, it's always going to be flawed. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. And certainly wasn't a BCS, and it's still happening in the college football playoff, although it is a better system, and it is cool to see these teams have a chance to go through a playoff and maybe beat a team that is ranked ahead of them and still continue on. That's what it's all about. It's a better system, but it's still flawed. That's what I have to say about it. Moving on, and Paul, you can throw up number 8. Lane Kiffin. Several jobs open. Florida's open. LSU's open. Penn State's open. Virginia Tech is not open anymore because I think that I saw that James Franklin took the job at Virginia Tech. It's probably a good place for him. That's more along the lines of what I think he can coach in a conference and a team that I think he can coach in. I think Penn State might have been too big a job for James Franklin. But as far as Lane Kiffin goes, there's not too big a job for Lane Kiffin. He's coached everywhere. He's done big jobs. He's done little jobs. He's a good coach. Is he an internet troll? Yes, 100%. He is. We talked a little bit earlier about how he's more in tune to the younger perspective, younger players. He kind of understands a little bit more about how to navigate in the internet world and how to troll people. And our question today in our little pre-show blog was, is he trolling? Is he painting his masterpiece troll here by using Florida, LSU, other jobs to gain leverage and get a bigger contract where he's at? Because by all accounts, he loves Ole Miss. Yeah. And he loves being at Oxford. And now that's not to say he wouldn't go anywhere else, because he probably would. And LSU's a good job, and Florida's a good job. But is this going to be a big troll job? You see the things that it says on this little, one of my favorite Facebook pages, College Football Troll, says in other college football news, Kiffin has now bought a very expensive house in Gainesville. His family flew to Baton Rouge. He signed a contract with LSU that'll be announced tomorrow, and tomorrow was a week ago. He's staying at Ole Miss, and he's waiting for DeBoer to get fired from Bama. And it says, never change college football, never change. And that's with every coaching search, ain't it, in college football? And what it's basically saying there is, if somebody's telling you that they know something, they really don't know crap until it happens.
Exactly.
And we look at the message, the message boards. Paul, throw up number 10. We look at, and this is one of my favorite message boards, really the only one I ever look at. But you'll see the name of it. It's called TigerDroppings.com. And so during the last 2 weeks, I get to work and I open my tabs, right? Everybody opens your tabs when you get to work. You open your emails. If you have something else that you have to interface with, you open that. I always open Yahoo Fantasy Football because I want to check on my team and I want to get, especially on Tuesdays, because that's when, everything's over. The Monday night game's over, and you can start looking at what you need to do for the next week. But I always have that open. And the past couple of weeks, I've had this one open. And you'll notice this thread right here. What does that say? Paul, can you blow that up? I can't read it. Okay, so this says, y'all get some work done and stop refreshing. And that really made me chuckle out loud, because here I am sitting here at work, and I pull, every now and then, every 2 hours or so, I pull that page up and I hit refresh. And then the last time I hit refresh, I see this. Y'all stop refreshing. Nothing's happening, right? It's fun to do when you have these coaching changes and everything. And I remember going through the Brian Kelly thing, which the news cycle wasn't as quick. But now they've got people on here and on other message boards that know the tail number of your plane. So if you land in Baton Rouge, if you land in Oxford, if you land in Gainesville, they know the tail number of your plane, and they're going to report it on there. Okay, this tail number goes with this person. This is the pilot. They're out of Oxford, Mississippi. Okay, well, that must be Lane Kiffin, right?
It's going too far.
It's going. Well, there's people out there that key on this stuff, and they're obsessed with it. So, but is Lane pulling a troll job? I don't know. He certainly has connections to Baton Rouge via his daughter. His daughter's dating Whit Weeks. His son is a high school football player who they said was on the plane. They said possibly he's looking for a school to go to where he can play and showcase his talents. But just like that graphic said, he also bought a very expensive house in Gainesville. He did not. But that's what people are saying. People are putting out so much BS that it clouds the real stuff. Am I right? Like, you don't know what's real. You don't know what's fake. And that's how this kind of goes.
The thing is I'm not going to say I couldn't see him going to Florida Florida, Louisiana. But if Ole Miss sweetens the pot for him, I don't see him leaving.
I think he could win a national title at Ole Miss. I think that's a plausible thing. He's got more ties to Florida. His wife went to Florida. His father-in-law coached at Florida. Was an assistant coach somewhere there at Florida at some point. So got more ties to Florida probably. But then his daughter is dating Whit Weeks at LSU. So, it's going to depend. But I 100% think that if Ole Miss comes off some money and pays him a little bit more, he thinks he can win a national title at Ole Miss, and I think he could too. Yeah. I think he's a good recruiter. I think he can get the talent there that could do it. And now with the portal, all you really have to have is one good portal off season. LSU had a good one this last year, and I think that's the only reason that they've won as many games as they have, because they've got talent still there. Right. And it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that Lane Kiffin couldn't do it in Oxford, and I think he could. That being said, I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't think anybody else does. So you can look at these message boards and you can prowl on them all you want, but at the end of the day, there's only a handful of people that know what's really going down, and it's not somebody on a college football message board.
Nothing's official until the ink is dry, and there ain't no ink yet.
That's correct. We can talk. We can move on into some NFL. Anything stand out on the NFL weekend to you, Jacob?
Texans are at 500.
Texans are at 500, and can I say that maybe D'Amico Ryans maybe one of my favorite coaches.
Absolutely.
Just because he played there, and he's invested in. I think
he's truly in it for the love of the sport. That's
absolutely correct, and he loves that team, and I think that's a lost thing. I love Dan Campbell up in Detroit. There's several good coaches across the league. There's a bunch of good players also. There's a bunch of good players, coaches. But those ones that are real old school, like Dan Campbell, D'Amico Ryans, the guys who really kind of, it's almost guys who came from defense that are tougher on and seem like they're good, strong coaches. And I like those guys. Now, the Saints are at the trade deadline, and now they're dropping people. I mean, they're unloading, right? Like they're in full. Hey, we need to dump salary. We need to do something coming into this next year. What we're doing right now ain't working. That's another thing that kind of stood out to me. I think they dropped somebody to waivers today, and he got picked up. Brandon Cooks. So they put Brandon Cooks on waivers. He got picked up. That it's just a lost season for him. Right. Talking about things at the bottom of the NFL. Let's see.
When I was watching the Texans and Titans play, the Titans did not play like a 1-9 team.
No.
And on the other side of that, Mills coming in as backup has had 2 comeback wins 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and I watched a little bit of that game, and that might have been one of the more impressive wins I think I saw. Cowboys beat up on the Raiders. Broncos beat the Chiefs, which was, kind of the Broncos may be coming back on. With who's the guy at Auburn? Nix. So Nix is he you know, he's starting to show, you know, some talent and some, you know, the reason why he's in the NFL. Nothing else to me kind of stood out. Like I said, you've got some terrible teams. You said the Texans, you know, get to 500.
I will say that there was multiple games this week that were won by a field goal. Multiple games.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the NFL. You know, everybody's a professional there. And but as far as the week, you know, it's a, you know, just your typical late season week. Going into week 12 now. Kind of like we talked about the Saints. You're making plans now. You either know, hey, you know, we still got a shot at our division, we still got a shot getting in the playoffs, still got a shot at a wild card, or you know that this ain't the year. We need to unload. We need to regroup. We need to make a plan. So this is kind of that cutoff point right here, I think. And you're starting to see a lot of teams make that decision. That's why the trade deadline just passed. It's a good point in the season to take stock of where you are and to move forward based on what you think your team is going to do this year and going into the next season. It was a big topic on ESPN radio this morning about everyone talked about it. That was a talking head on ESPN about LeBron going into his 23rd year of playing professional basketball. Now, a lot took it a little too far, calling him the GOAT. You know, the GOAT starting his 23rd year. LeBron is a very good basketball player. LeBron is one of the best basketball players of his generation, actually probably of across some generations here. He's held up. He's had a lot of longevity. He's in his 23rd year. Is he a good player in his 23rd year? Yeah, he's probably the best 23rd year player you've ever seen. As far as, in fact, I don't know that anybody's ever played more than 23 seasons. I think that's why they made such a big deal about it, right. Is that nobody's ever played 23 or finished 23. And he's going into it. He's in good health. He's going to maybe he's trying to make it 25. I don't know. You know, it's your body can only handle so much. Basketball is a very physical game. Basketball is a very taxing game on your body, just like football, but different. Whereas football is a lot of pounding and pounding on your joints, pounding on your bones, your muscles. Basketball is more of you lose your agility, you lose as you get older, you lose your speed, your quickness. All that fades because you've done it for so long. And to LeBron's credit, I think that he probably more than anybody, probably a little bit having to do with technology, has maybe made a longer career of it and a longer has done more with his body and maybe kept his body in better shape because of that.
This says LeBron James has the longest NBA career beginning his 23rd season in November. He surpassed Vince Carter, who previously held the record with 22 seasons played. Other players with exceptionally long careers include Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Kobe Bryant, who both played for 20 seasons.
Yeah, right. And hey, it's hard in basketball. I mean, basketball is think about how much these guys run and jump. That's taxing on your body. Kudos to him for making his 23rd season, and you know that's going to be a record. And he may make 25. He's certainly capable of it, and we'll see. He's one of the best basketball players to ever live, 100%. Is he the best basketball player of all time? That's debatable. but you can't deny his talent. You can't deny his longevity. You can't deny that he is, like I said, one of the best basketball players to ever do it. And I think that's where it needs to end. I think that's where the conversation needs to end. It doesn't need to be an argument. Nobody argued Kareem with Jordan. Nobody argued a bunch of other players with Jordan that were previous to him. One thing I'll say is that one thing that I thought was interesting on one of the shows on ESPN this morning is they said something about Bill Russell for the Celtics. Nobody ever brings up Bill Russell as one of the greatest players of all time. Well, I think it was a coach that said, well, Bill Russell played against plumbers and firemen. They didn't necessarily, they weren't professional basketball players, and they had other, jobs and stuff, and they played basketball. Oh, yeah, sure. But, and that makes sense, but that doesn't take anything away from Bill Russell. The big thing is, if you played in this era, if you played in that era, if LeBron played in the era with Jordan where they could beat the crap out of you, I don't know that he made it 23 years. It was a different league back then. If Ron Artest beat the crap out of you in the late 90s, you couldn't do that. He couldn't play in the league anymore because our favorite thing to say is to call him LaFlop James because he's a king of the flops. LaFlop James, he's the king of the flops. And hey, look, did it maybe prolong his career, to get, false foul calls and all? Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Will people look back on that and people look at those videos and stuff and say, Jordan didn't do this? Yeah, they're going to do that. Mm-hmm. But they didn't play in the same era, just like Jordan didn't play with Bill Russell, and just like Kareem didn't play, back there. And it's so you got to take. I think you have to take into account, especially in basketball, mm-hmm. the eras that they played in, because it's so different. The game changed so much. In football too, but football is more from like, here's the game from the 1940s to the 1990s. And then after the 2000s, it changed a little bit. We started worrying about safety. Yeah. We started worrying about people having brain damage. And so that is what's different. But there's, as opposed to having, multiple eras of, this is what basketball is right now, the NFL only really has a couple. This was the sport up until here, and then we started worrying about it. We started worrying about people having brain damage. And, from there on out, we took care of them a little bit better. That's how football went. So basketball is kind of unique in that fact that they Paul Little says, it's a different league now, but to make it to that level is something absolutely is something to be proud of. And I'm just saying that LeBron. You look at LeBron James' stature and his athleticism. Ain't no question he could have played in the 90s. The 90s was just so physical that I don't think that he would have had the same longevity. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like I think instead of maybe 23, he might have been 18. It was just such a more physical league.
I remember a time when basketball players got injured just as much as football players.
Absolutely.
And now you don't ever see basketball injuries, hardly ever.
No, and they've tried to make their league safer too, and kudos to them, because nobody who goes and plays a sport professionally, no matter how much they make, deserves to have brain damage or deserves to have injuries that physically limit them for the rest of their life. Nobody's asking you to do that,
Speaking of brain injuries, the influx of concussions in the NFL right now. It's just...
Yeah, and you see more and more of the people of players wearing the Guardian helmets in game. Romeo Dobbs, of course, we pick on Romeo Dobbs because he looks like he's got a big cartoon head. But hey, if he can be 65 years old and still have brain function, maybe he's smarter than the rest of us. Maybe he's smarter than, Mike Allstott, and who just beat the crap out of himself. There's a parallel there with Cam Scatterboo. So Cam Scatterboo is a tough guy. Y'all seen him earlier this season before he got hurt. He's a tough guy. He'll run through a brick wall. There's literally memes of him running into a brick wall and breaking it.
Yep.
That you can't sustain that. There's no way you can sustain that level of pounding on your body and on your brain. And somebody's going to get a hold of him and tell him that. Maybe Troy Aikman can talk to him. Because Troy Aikman might have played a whole lot longer had he not had 8 concussions in his career.
I know an old man.
Yeah.
That played professional football, and he left to be a boxer. And when I met him, he was an elderly man in a nursing home.
Yeah.
And he didn't know who he was, where he was, ever.
Absolutely.
And he's constantly fighting to leave the nursing home because he doesn't understand.
He doesn't understand that he's not. Yeah.
And apparently, he's got this syndrome called punch syndrome.
Yeah.
And it's from all the hits he's taken to the head.
Yeah. Have you ever heard an interview with Earl Campbell? Earl Campbell, you remember, was Tough Runner.
Oh, yeah.
He was before my time, of course, but when we were younger, there was a thing called NFL Films.
Mm-hmm.
And they would bring NFL Films on, and you could watch these old games. You could watch Earl Campbell run tough and run into people and everything. And Earl has got some of the effects of doing that too. Mm-hmm. And he may be the one to talk to Cam Scatterboo and say, hey, buddy, it may not be worth it, for you. You can still do the same things that you're doing, and you can still run the ball, but you can also be safe. Mm-hmm. and not put yourself in a position where later in life you can't speak real good. Stuff like that. And Paul says, yes, safety for players needs to be a priority no matter what sport. Absolutely, Paul, you're right. And you watch some of these things, and you watch them, like Olympic rugby and stuff, and they don't wear any kind of protection, any kind of padding or anything. And that's outside maybe some shin padding and stuff like that, like soccer does. But that's a sense of pride for their sport. But it's almost like they also know how to take care of each other when they are getting physical with each other, and that's a difference in the sport. Because I was very in tune to rugby in the last Olympics, and I was like, okay, I watch a lot of women's because of Ilona Meyer. She was very prevalent in the USA Olympic world, and she was funny. And so we watched a lot of that. And the way that they go about playing the game is a little bit safer than knowing that they don't have any protection and stuff like that. So they know how to play their game a little bit safer than maybe football players do. And if you go back in time and watch back in the leather helmet days and stuff, it was a fight. Famously, Theodore Roosevelt almost eliminated the game of football from the United States because of how dangerous it was. And he was one of the first ones to demand that they implement some kind of safety measures for playing football back in the days when the Ivy Leagues kind of controlled it and stuff like that. But football people were dying playing football. And unfortunately, still today, people are dying playing football. And you can make it as safe as you want to. It's still a violent game. It's a violent game played by violent people. A coach said that to us one time. Football is a violent game played by violent people. And with that comes an inherent risk of injury. And that's just going to be it. No matter how many safety measures you put in play, you're always going to have that threat of injury in professional football, in American professional football.
I mean, every team is looking for players that are bigger, faster, and stronger than what they have.
Absolutely.
You look the late 80s, early 90s, people wasn't running 4 flat 40s.
No.
People wasn't hitting the way they hit now. And with that being said, the bigger, the faster, the stronger is going to be the harder the hits.
Yeah. You didn't have 250-pound linebackers that were running a 4.3. You didn't have that. It started late 80s, Lawrence Taylor years and stuff like that. Defensive players started getting faster, but they were still just as big. Imagine a 6'4", 250 linebacker running at you at a 4.4 clip with all his might, all his combined weight and power that he's going to hit you with. That's dangerous. He's a weapon.
Oh, yeah.
He ain't no doubt about it. He's a walking, talking weapon.
I can tell you when I graduated, I ran a 4.5 40. And at that point in time, that's what our running backs ran.
Yeah.
Now, you got the biggest kids on the team running a 4.4 and a 4.5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. When I was in high school, it had just become kind of commonplace to have offensive linemen run a sub 5 40, 4.9, 4.8. That was pretty commonplace for an offensive line for a big, giant, tall left tackle to run a 4.9 or 4.8. That was pretty commonplace. Quickness and agility and advances in athletic training helped that along. But now in the NFL, first off, every one of them guys in the NFL, every one of them, it don't matter if they never play a snap, they're a professional athlete. They're a professional football player. They're better than anybody who is not there. 100%. There's a reason they're a professional football player. And, of course, everybody who's out there starting, they're a professional football player. That's why you watch the NFL, and it can always go either way because they're all professionals. There's never, outside of being just a terrible team, if you've got teams that have decent enough rosters and can fill a roster, they're all professional football players. There's the margin for error is so small in professional football. And that's all it takes sometimes is one mess up or one person thinking a little bit harder than the other, or one person making a little bit better effort than the other to turn a game or to turn a play. And that's all it's about. That's what professional football is about. That's why they train them so well. And that's why those guys are up there doing that in the league. But do they deserve to be protected from themselves especially? Yes, absolutely. Cam Scatterby deserves to be protected from himself. Everybody loves to play football. Everybody, like I said, it's a violent sport for violent people. And everybody likes to be violent that plays it. And he's one of them. But they do 100% deserve to be protected from themselves. And I don't know how we really got off on that, but I feel like that was a good topic to get off on.
Oh, yeah.
But we can move on and get to some more lighter commentary here. Go into our BS segment. Jacob, do you have anything you're listening to in particular this week?
Not really. The only time I really get a chance to really listen to anything is at work, and I've got my whole entire company on Satsuma Radio now. So.
Satsuma Radio. I've been listening to a little bit of that myself. I've been on several different podcasts too. I've got a show that I listen to on the weekends that if I don't get to on a Sunday or something, I'll listen to throughout the week. I'll catch 30 minutes on the way to work, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. Sometimes I'll just leave the house and make a loop around town and just listen to it and come back. Because I don't like to sit still anywhere and listen to music or podcast or anything.
Right.
like to be while I'm driving or moving or whatever.
We keep music playing in the shop nonstop.
Yep.
And I've kind of got it. We have to play clean music. And you start listening to different channels on YouTube, and it's not always clean music. So I started playing Satsuma Radio, and everybody enjoys it, and it's always clean music.
Yeah. I like that about it. I think we've both been kind of watching the same thing, Landman.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, here's a meme that I saw that was pretty funny because you can. So there's a character called Cooper who is the son on Landman, and he's Texas Tech alum, and he's just, without making too big of a spoiler, he's just come into some money. And so this meme says, "I'm turning Landman off the minute this little shit starts buying Tech a new defensive line in the transfer portal." He's talking about Texas Tech. So like I said, he's coming to some money, and now he's going to be a big booster and buy Texas Tech a new defensive line. So that, I thought that was pretty funny, and it kind of tied in with our show and our talk about transfer portal and this and that. And but that's a very good show, and I encourage everybody to watch it on Paramount. There comes out every Sunday. It's a good show. We were talking about other good shows on there. You were talking about Tulsa King being good. I need to get into that one. Bunch of good stuff. Stranger Things is coming up. If y'all are Stranger Things heads, I heard that the episodes of Stranger Things are going to be like an hour and a half long this season, and they're going to break them up. So we'll see. It's been like 5 years since we got one, so be ready for it.
Zoe's kind of upset because she's been waiting for Stranger Things to start, and it starts while we're going on the cruise.
Oh, yes. Me and my daughter started watching Stranger Things, I think, when she was in middle school, and she's in college now. So, she's almost halfway through her first college year. So they've strung it out pretty far, but it's a good show. I don't know if it's worth that long a wait, but it's a good show, and you might as well finish it out because it's going to be the last of it. And I don't know if there's going to be spinoffs or whatever, but it's a very good show. You want to throw the flag on anything?
Trying to think. Not that I can think of.
We can go ahead and throw a flag on the parking at the Tomato Bowl because it's gonna be a S show.
I do.
As someone so eloquently put it, it's going to be a S show. But hey, y'all get there early, get your spot.
They say there's going to be parking around downtown.
Well,
I don't know anything about the area, so I can't even tell you which direction downtown is from the stadium. But
I don't know either. But y'all look at a map and get there early and get you a spot. And let's get in there and support the Tigers. We'll see y'all there. I don't have anything other than that. I don't have anything else. We will. We'll go ahead and close out. We'll say one more time. Let me just give you on Justin's birthday. Justin, are you listening? On Justin's birthday, just some, to close out, give some fun facts on Justin on his birthday. Happy birthday, Justin. How old is Justin now, John? He's 41 because I'll be 43 next month. So, Justin, if you don't know, here's some fun facts about Justin. So Justin has a gluten disease. This gluten disease causes him to, when he eats a burger, he passes out, he pisses himself, he forgets who he is for about 30 minutes. He has also promised to cook us a whole pig, to smoke us a whole pig, a promise that he has not delivered on as of yet. We're waiting. You'll see Justin up there with his little fishy, because he's not a very good fisherman. Justin had a period of 3 to 4 years where he exclusively dated Waffle House waitresses. And that's not a lie. I'm not messing with y'all. This is true facts. This is facts. Justin was a catcher in baseball and a center in football. Just ask him. He'll tell you all about it. He'll tell you about his glory days. Justin's been trying to get us to do a food challenge like Dave Portnoy since we started this show in 2021. That's all he just John in my line. All he wants to do is have some kind of food challenge so he can get free food and show it and try it on air. He tried burgers. He wanted to do salsa. He wanted to do all kind of different things. Hey, let's do this Dave Portnoy. He loves Portnoy. I'm quite frankly find him annoying. I don't like Dave Portnoy, but hey, he may just like him because he gets to eat free pizza all the time, and that's what Justin's goal is, to eat free pizza all the time, or even with his gluten allergy, who knows. Justin pretends like he likes weird hippie meals like eggplant lasagna and stuff, but I think that's only to appease his wife. Did I go too far, John? And Justin works too much. Even though we tell him constantly, as I mentioned earlier, a job ain't nothing but work. So happy birthday to Justin. That was some fun facts about him, y'all.
I think Leslie K's saying that Justin's a dumpster fire.
He's a dumpster fire. He is a dumpster fire, 100%. Look at that little fish he caught. He's a terrible fisherman.
I thought that was bait.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, he's always on the ready. In all seriousness, he's a good guy. He, like we said on our post, he bleeds maroon. He loves Silsby. He loves to do this and with us and talk about sports and everything. He won't be there tomorrow night, but he will be watching, I'm sure, somewhere where he says that he's working. So hats off to Justin. Happy birthday again. We're going to close this out. Reminder to like, share, follow all of our Rolling on the Field stuff, as well as all of our Satsuma Valley studio properties, Silsby Live, etc., Satsuma Valley Radio, all our stuff. Y'all seek us out and patronize our sponsors, of course. And we are going to get out of here. Share with your friends. Like I said, like, share, follow our stuff if you like us. Check out our friends on SETX Sports and for the broadcast tomorrow night and for other content that is so good. So that's where we'll leave you, and we'll see you again next Wednesday, hopefully to talk about a win against La Vega for the Silsby Tigers. And until then, the Rolling on the Field
Stands.
Thanks, guys.